Why do I hate the sound of my voice when I hear it on a video recording? Why is it that when we put headphones onto our ears and we listen back to the sound of our voice, it just sounds so horrible? I mean, is that really how I sound to everybody else? Surely that's not the case. Oof, it just, it's disgusting. I get the ick to my own voice, which means I'm less likely to create content. I'm less likely to speak to the love of my life. I'm less likely to take out a job opportunity. I'm less likely to expose myself to the world and its opportunities. But why does it happen? Why is it that if I have a conversation with a friend and we record it and then listen back to it, his voice sounds exactly the same, but my voice somehow sounds different? And why does he tell me he has the exact same problem? That my voice to him sounds the same, but his voice to him sounds absolutely different. Could it be because we're actually sounding different? Or is it because we're listening in a different way? Normally when we speak, we listen with our ears. And if you asked a 5-year-old kid, how do we speak? He would say, duh, uncle, with the ears. But do we? See, right now when I'm speaking, the friction of air is going into the microphone, through the cable, into my sound recorder, and then through the computer, and everything gets processed through, and then I'll join that with the camera, and boom, I'm going to ship it off to the internet, and you'll be watching it in a couple of moments' time. You'll listen to it through your headphones, or maybe through your computer speakers, or through your AirPods, or whatever it might be. So the sound will unequivocally go through your ears, get registered by the very, very complex system of nerves, and then get sent to your brain, and boom, you can now hear me in real time. But as I'm speaking to you right now, most of my voice, as I'm hearing it, isn't coming through my ears. I can prove this, because you can do it as well if you just plug your ears. I can very much still hear the sound of my voice. It's a little bit more low, very bassy. I'm hearing the low tones. Why is that? Why is it when I cover my ears, I can feel my voice vibrating very, very low, like a deep bass? Could it be because the sound is still traveling to the brain, but using a different system? You hear most of your voice, most of the time, not through your ears, but through the vibrations of your skull. The bones in your head are actually creating the sound and carrying it around. Now, to a few of you, this might actually be common knowledge. You might think, yeah, duh, I knew this. I mean, come on, Tim. There's these new headphones that they've made years ago that don't even, go into your ears. They just create vibration and you can still hear them. And they're very safe because you can use them when you're doing sports activities and you can still hear the surrounding traffic. Smart, right? But most of us forget that that is also true for the sound of our voice. And so 80% of the time, all of the time, we're listening to our voice through the skull. But when we're listening to our voice through the use of headphones, 100% of that sound will go through your ears. And so you're only really familiar with about 20% of your voice. That's why it sounds so foreign. That's why it sounds so horrible when you put your headphones on and you think, who is this? Surely I don't sound like that. Hopefully this explanation clicked in for you and you now understand that your voice doesn't sound different because you sound different, but because you're listening to yourself differently. What can we do to fix it? Well, there's two things that work, and I think only two things that work. The first step is to listen back to your voice a lot. This is sort of the easiest way. So you take your phone, record your voice, listen back to it, think, okay, this sounds bad, let me correct it a little bit. The best way that you can do it is by using something called live feedback. So if I take my other pair of headphones here, these headphones are, first and foremost, they're open back headphones, which means that even if I speak normally, a lot of the sound will go through them. And also if I'm blasting music very loudly and there was somebody sitting next to me, they would actually hear the music. On the other hand, we have these Bose headphones. These are noise cancelling headphones. These are great if you're traveling. If I'm on a plane and it's loud, I can turn on the noise cancelling. But if I try speaking with these, I don't actually hear the sound of my voice. Even just putting them onto my ears takes away a lot of the frequencies that I'm picking up from my voice. And I think it will alter my voice over prolonged periods of usage. These headphones, being open back, are also connected to a digital audio converter. In this case, it's a Rodecaster Duo, which is it's a digital audio interface. In other words, sound goes into the sound card. I'm currently recording onto an SD card the actual audio file of this video, but most importantly, this can connect to your computer. And even more so important, it's playing back the sound into my ears. So the sound you hear right now is playing back into my ears in real time at an increased volume, meaning that the sound coming from my mouth and coming through the vibration of my bones and the 20% coming through my ears is out-volumed by the actual headphones, which means the sound that I hear of my voice is the exact same sound that you're going to hear. I did this for years. I did a lot of video editing. I sat here in front of the computer listening back to my voice for hours upon hours. And it helped me reach a point where even when I take these headphones off, I still hear the same sound that you will hear on the recording. My British RP accent, the one that I'm using in most of my videos, is the same voice that I hear when I speak. And that gives me all the control in the world. But most importantly, it gives me all the confidence in the world. And this is the easiest solution that you could use. So what works best is first and foremost, record something, go into an editing software like DaVinci Resolve, which is free, and look at the audio signature. Listen back to your voice as much as you possibly can. I mean, again, if 80% of the time we're listening to our voice through the vibration of the bones, then we just have to make sure we change the ratio. Start listening to your voice with your ears for 80% of the time, and you'll start to see improvement also in your voice. It's effort and it's duration. Do as much of these practices as often as you possibly can. Now, what I'm about to tell you will change your life, but it probably won't, because probably you won't take the action. Most people do not take the action. They just listen to the advice, chuck it over their shoulder, and forget all about it. I got my English from making content, but I didn't get it from recording content. I got it from editing the content. I spend so many countless nights, hours upon hours, staring at the computer screen of a video editing software and trying to match the sound of my voice, correcting, cutting out the mistakes, looking at the squiggly lines representing frequencies, trying to figure out which words I'm mispronouncing, which words I'm repeating too often, which phrases I'm using that are out of order, which mistakes I've made grammatically, which mistakes I've made by pronunciation, and so on and so forth. Most of you are not willing to put in that work. Most of you are not willing to even spend the time, the iota of effort, put into listening back to your own voice. But that is the one thing that I guarantee wholeheartedly will change not just your voice, but your life. I recommend this to everybody I work with. Make the content by recording the content, speaking, which is already a great practice, and then listening back to your content, editing it, going through the process of cutting out your mistakes. Don't just send it off to a video editor because you have the money to do it. First, do the raw editing yourself. This video is edited. This video is edited by my editor, whom I pay money to edit the video for me. But when this recording is finished and I upload it to my computer and I merge the audio from the microphone with the video from the camera, I will go through the editing process myself. My editor will get the full video. He just has to add the captions, the animations, the fancy text, the movement, the call to action buttons, stuff that's visual. I'm not going to have my editor correct my mistakes. I'm not going to have my editor sit there and go through the errors that I have made with my voice. I will do that. Not because I want to, not because I don't want to pay him more money, but because I need to if I want to have a better voice. The journey never stops. The growth of your voice never stops. I'm always hungrier for more and better. I'm trying to find new vocabulary to use, new ways to sound more eloquent and refined, new methods to be more convincing, and to have the conviction with which I can, convince you to buy something, to convert, to do, to act, to change. And if I can do that, then I make the world a better place by making myself a better person. And that in itself is great motivation to listen back to your own voice, to start speaking more, and to do your own editing. Go through the process of listening to yourself as much as possible, and I guarantee you, you will notice an improvement. Because this is why you hate the sound of your voice.